Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's Nintendo podcast. My name is Philip Mewson, and today I'm joined by Per Schneider.
What's up, Philip?
Andrew Goldfarb.
Hello.
And Ryan McCaffrey.
Walking the live tightrope right now. I'm impressed with you guys.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. We are live officially on IGN.com every Thursday from now on at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. So thank you very much, everyone in the chat, for joining us today. Whoo, we got an exciting episode today. We've got two new faces to NVC.
Yes,
and we've
the
got
variety kid and the
Yes, we have Labo. I know, I'm super excited. I wanted to save it, let it build up a little bit, but I mean, it's right here. We have Labo. We've got the variety kits and the robot kit. Very, very excited to dive into this a little later myself, but I did want to share the unboxing moment with you guys. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to unbox the variety kit, possibly do a little speed run. I want to set a world record speed run today live on
It'll
NBC.
be broken tomorrow.
And see if we can actually build the RC car as fast as we can. They say it takes only 10 minutes. I think we can get it in under 5.
I'm very excited for this. I want you to do it.
this.
I also want you to do it while dressed as the robot. That would actually.
Oh, you're gonna do it.
Helpful. Oh no.
Yeah, you
We're doing it.
Yeah, you and
All right.
Ryan. Yep.
Doesn't end well.
We've also got some Pokemon Go stuff to talk about, as well as Dark Souls Remastered is in the news again, which is usually a good thing, but this time not so much. Nintendo has been hinting at new hardware and filing patents yet again, so we're going to definitely run over that stuff. And we've got Sega news to talk about as well that's also Switch related. But before we get into all of that good stuff, we need to unbox this Labo. I can't wait anymore. I need to get this variety kit open right away. So here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna.
Sing a little song while you do that?
Can you please? Yes.
You need me to move?
Yeah.
Play
yeah,
the
why don't you,
Jeopardy music.
Take the laptop.
The grand unboxing song of
I'm
IGN.
gonna try and do
4.
this
All right, where are we?
strategically.
Should I set this one aside?
Yeah, you can
for-
put that one
for
down.
now?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna move your Switch so you don't knock it off somehow.
All right, so I did cheat a little bit. I peeked inside, but I left the majority of the unboxing to happen live here. So I did cut the tape earlier, but here we go.
Did
So
you practice unboxing with a giant microphone in front of you?
no, I did not. This
This is how
all
we do
new
it
to
at
me.
home, too.
Before I open it up, I just want to say this is so heavy. This box is crazy. It's like
Whoa.
right, and it's essentially just cardboard inside, and the box itself.
Is it
filled
fair
with
to say
cardboard.
this might be the weightiest non-collector's edition release of a game since Rock Band?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, we've never seen anything like this before, so I'm
Also the most biodegradable ever.
yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
greenest.
All right, so here we go.
In 1,000 years, it will not be there anymore.
Limited edition.
There's a good look right here. As soon as you crack it open, we've got the game case sitting right here.
By the way, I'm so happy there's an actual box in it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why. Like, I just hate having just a tiny little
Just a cartridge. Yeah.
fly around. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
I took the game out.
What the?
I had to get it ready. They gypped us. But yeah, so then you remove these two pieces right here, which just kind of has some fun designs, showing off the instructions of, telling you to put the game cartridge in the Switch. And then once you get all that stuff out of the way,
Ooh, this is filler cardboard.
yeah, exactly.
Cut your own extra pieces.
They did say that they included extra cardboard for Toy-Con Garage experimentation, so maybe that's it. Yeah. And then right here as well, we've got some stuff for the fishing rod as well as the light strips that work with the Joy-Con IR sensors. So that should be cool once we get that set up. And then everything after that, all that's left in the box itself. Let me see if I can grab all of it at once because there's so many sheets in here. Again, this is the variety
Whoa.
kit.
That is a lot.
Yeah, it's all cardboard.
Jeez.
There you
See
go.
that really, that really like when you see something built, you always
need
think
the
of
side
one
shot.
sheet.
Let's
But it's
see.
just
Yeah.
so
There
much.
you go. That's
There you go.
It's like a Giants playing card deck.
But yeah, exactly. But as you alluded to, like a couple episodes pair, each of the cardboard sheets have really cool designs on them that kind of go with what they are. Like this is the Toy-Con Garage thing. This is the RC car right here, and the fishing rod.
And they hide little little shark in the corner and all that.
Yeah.
and the like the sticker marker stuff that's sold separately.
Yeah. So there's like separate customization kits that you can get as well.
Or you just buy stickers.
yeah,
Yeah,
same.
or
My kid
markers,
has markers and stuff
Right?
at home, so
Yeah, I mean, there's no real I don't think there's any like exclusive like customization kits yet with like Mario characters or Nintendo franchise characters on there. So you might as well just go to like Michael's or your
paint.
own craft store and
Or just put on Master Chief and
exactly.
Why not?
But actually
Made my
here,
own warthog.
let's take out the RC car piece right here and get it ready for you guys. Just to have
no.
They're
on
going
the
to
side
build it
later.
without a Switch, or do they have a Switch?
Oh no,
with
we
the software?
we have a
Yeah,
Switch. There it
separate
is.
the we got to separate the Joy-Con.
Yeah, and I want to run you guys through and show you how the instructions work too. But
nice sturdy cardboard.
yeah, we'll close the box back up and put it off to the side for now. But before I do, actually, I just want to show you, like, the box is beautiful itself. Can you zoom into the back right here? It gives you some really good ideas of how you can actually customize Labo. Like right here, you can see the motorcycle handlebars are like literally like they got a fire design right here, which is really cool.
They had a
There's-
graphic designer make that, like spend hours making that.
Hey,
There's a tennis racket mandolin right here as well.
I think we'll see cool stuff on
So
like
cool.
For
DeviantArt.
sure.
Like people
I can't
who
wait.
do this.
I'm so
they're good
excited
at
for
it.
this to be in the hands of like the public because
Yeah.
there will be so many cool things created.
Exactly. So
I mean,
here,
that box, you're talking about how impressive it is. Like, there are going to be so many happy kids on holiday mornings come the fall where you get that nice. Because when you were a kid, usually the lighter the box, the more disappointing.
Yeah,
The
bigger is
more
better.
disappointed you are. Yeah, like the bigger and heavier it was, the cooler it was.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great.
Plus,
Yeah.
they're gonna. I mean, this is the beginning, right? Like, I really hope we see so many kits, and like, I do really hope they get some of that
Well,
Nintendo stuff in.
the
Get
one-
like Samus's ship and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one when I showed the reveal video from, I guess, gosh, what is it, January now, to my daughter, I showed it to her just no context. Hey, take a look at this.
yeah.
She watched it and she was super excited about it. And I said, well, which ones do you want to build? She said, the piano and the bird. So but the bird,
Right.
that's not out yet.
So in the
right?
reveal trailer, they showed off, I think it was 8 Toy-Cons that just don't exist yet, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a bird. There was also like some sort of a gun. There was also a kick drum that looked like it belonged to a bigger set, like maybe some sort of musical set. So I think that those are some Toy-Cons that we'll see maybe in Variety Kit 2. Maybe we'll get an announcement at E3. You know, I'm expecting to, like, this is definitely the first wave of Labo stuff.
Yeah, I could definitely see that Kit 2, maybe with the bird and some of these other things,
Yeah.
out in like the early fall as to help sort of give it an extra push for the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. But before we jump into any more Labo discussion, I want to ask the chat real quick, who here is excited about Labo? In fact, let's get a poll started for that, if you can, Andres. Create a poll and let me know if you're interested in Labo, and if you are you going to be picking up the Variety Kits or the Robot Kit?
I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided vote right here.
Oh, yeah?
You think all variety?
Yeah.
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 Just because, it's building one thing versus getting to build a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the robot kit, I mean, having played with all of these and having seen my kids engage with all of them, I feel like the robot kit definitely skews the youngest because it's got that old kind of like we get off the couch and like, move your body kind of approach to it. Like you have to crouch down in order for the robot to transform into a car and all that stuff. And so I don't know how many 20, 30, or 40-year-olds will do that.
Yeah.
Goldfarb will.
Yeah, I number one, I probably will. Number two, I think I agree about Variety Kit being the way I would lean, though, only because it feels like you get more bang for your buck. Like, it really does feel like there's so much more to it.
But the robot backpack has just amazing stuff in it. It's just
does,
like the way everything works is so cool to see. Whereas the Variety Kit, the piano may be the most interesting one, kind of structurally, or the fishing rod,
yeah.
the way it works. But the robot kit just has like crazy strings and things. And
There's a lot of small pieces to the robot kit, it seems like, especially with it's very like light strip heavy. So you're going to be working on that one the longest, I'd say. I think they say it takes about 6 hours in total to put together. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've got a very long weekend ahead of me. I'm actually doing the Labo review. Yeah. So it should be very, very interesting doing that because it's pretty much unlike anything we've ever dealt with before, right? Because
Pretty much.
there's still that debate of like, is this a game? Is this an edutainment toy? Something that I've noticed too, I check Nintendo's website like very often, obviously, like every day. And under their coming soon games list, Labo is suspiciously missing. So I'm wondering, like, does Nintendo even consider this a game or something sort of that lives in between
I
hardware
don't think
and a
it's a
video
game.
game? Yeah.
I don't
like-
think
it's almost
a
more
game.
like a platform,
It's a toy.
honestly.
I think it's absolutely just it's a toy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nintendo's a toy company.
I feel like you could easily build this around whatever the successor to Switch is too. Like, there's no reason why Labo can't continue, or even couldn't have begun in the Wii U era necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's like the software is a really cool integration idea, but like, yeah, that physical idea of number one, I love the idea of like that family activity of spending several hours building this thing and then playing with it. Like that reminds me of building like Lego sets with my dad when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
The stuff I'm excited about, you mentioned that Nintendo is a toy maker, right? They go back to the early days of making playing cards and all of that. I'd be so excited if they went back to like the Love Tester or the little grabby hand and like made those out of cardboard with kind of like with little history lessons around the company. It'd be really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Love
I mean,
Tester.
Deep cut from Barry Snyder.
Yeah.
I mean, like even like I was saying before, the back of the box just gives you great ideas for how you can create your own toy cons. Like they have examples with like how to make fun domino sets that trigger like a reward screen on the screen once all the dominoes are complete. So there's a lot of games that kids could really create for themselves within this, and I think it has a lot of potential to grow. But before we move forward, let's get started on that speed run. What do you guys say, huh?
I'm ready.
I'm
So-
absolutely not ready, but let's do it.
Where are the instructions?
All right, so the instructions are in the Switch. It doesn't come with
on the
any.
software.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no paper instructions, which I don't know yet how I feel about that.
Yeah,
I
that's like
kinda-
how Lego Dimensions did it. Like you had to follow along like by playing the game basically.
I wonder
Right.
if that's just so that they could make revisions.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think you got to lock the software before.
So try it out because the instructions you can
load it
you
up
can
there.
rotate the constructions, which is really cool.
When are we starting the clock? Like as soon as I start punching things out, or
We'll start it as soon as as soon as you start punching out.
Okay.
We'll start the clock.
Oh
So-
wow,
Did you go to the right one?
I might have gone
You're
to
on the
piano. by
piano.
mistake. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can go back right away, and maybe kill the volume too, because I'm sure
Yep.
it's very.
Have you
loud.
used
I'm
the,
sure our entire production staff loves that.
Have you used the Switch before? Andrew?
Yeah, geez, what is happening?
You heard of this thing? Yes.
Why?
Does everybody? So everybody here owns a Switch too at home.
You can use
right?
the touchscreen.
Yeah, there you go.
It like it's doing this weird shuffling thing. I don't know what's happening.
All
you
right.
can't edit your incompetence.
I know, I know.
live.
Here, let me get you started.
Dad, help!
All right. Let's see here. All right, so just so you guys can see what I'm doing here on the Switch's screen, it is doing something a little.
Yeah, it's doing like this weird shuffle thing.
Here, let me get out of the.
Is there a
there we go.
stuck button or something? Or
No, I think it was just stuck in this like tutorial mode. Here we go.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, so this is the RC car.
Tracked mode.
Yeah. So as soon as you guys start punching, we'll go ahead and start the clock. So let me know when you're ready.
Oh my god.
we should look at the instructions first.
Yeah.
So,
we go forward first.
Yeah, and you can use the touchscreen too for forward
It's going
stuff.
too fast. It's going
He
way
did
too
the
fast.
he does the
don't,
fast forward.
Don't press
so-
the buttons. Use the touchscreen.
Okay.
And in case you're wondering, it does work when it's docked as well. So you can, dock your Switch and use your
have the
controllers to
instructions
navigate
on the
through.
TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see. You hold it down when it says back and
and
forth.
you can
It's not like a
actually
button. Okay.
you can
drag it?
pull. Yeah,
You
drag
can
'em.
pull on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
There
Okay,
you
cool.
go.
All right. So first step is
Cut
going to
it
be
out,
this.
or punch it
So
out.
if you haven't noticed, both Andrew and Ryan have never done this before.
Yeah, I haven't done this at all. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
Other people
complete
can handle it
newbies.
later.
And as a reminder, it says that the RC car takes 10 minutes to put together. I think that they can do it under 5.
It's
dudes
not
in
looking
their
good.
Yeah, I was
so far.
just going to say, based on my competence so far, now that's probably
Andrew,
not.
do this. Like when you hold that little button, drag it to the right.
Yeah, and we'll
See that? It
Oh,
stretches.
that's
Yeah, it's
cool.
got a really cool interface. Sorry, we don't have a feed off that
All right,
for you.
punch it out.
Fold the
it,
tabs.
Do the folding.
Doesn't seem that bad.
So if you
It's
guys
a
want
lot-
to officially start, I suggest one person starts popping the pieces out.
Ooh,
Uh,
and,
Oh yeah, I can
you
pop
want
out pieces. I'm just gonna be honest. I have a lot less faith in myself than I do in you. So let me do the grunt work while you do the
Oh,
building.
okay. So I'm the brains of the operation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
All right.
great.
Are you guys ready with the clock in the back? All right, we're gonna get the clock going now.
It's a 5-minute
Oh god. Oh
clock.
god. Oh god.
All right.
What are we going to talk about while they do that?
So yes, there are some questions or some comments coming up in the chat. I saw one really good one here from Anish Bushka. Anish says, "I'm a high school teacher and I plan to keep my Labo in my classroom. Then I can store it away from home and have another way to shoehorn video games into lessons." Now this, I think, is a perfect example of how Labo can be used as an edutainment toy. I totally think it belongs in schools.
a lot of schools and my my local high school as well are adding programming to the curriculum.
Oh, wow.
And some even have done game design. The school up in Marin where my kids go, 2K Games actually organized a game programming session. Like they have this course program, like a one-time thing, before they add something like that to the curriculum. And I think these types of kits will be really really interesting just for the kind of the simple Scratch-like interface that you have once you customize stuff in the Toy-Con Garage. So,
Right, yeah.
Like, obviously, for younger kids, building stuff is really cool. But then I think older kids will really dig the programming options with it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Be great to see more teachers actually use that.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to get kids just involved in coding in general. If you're like aware of things like Khan Academy, they have a great coding program too that's free, as well as Code Academy just in general. It's very similar. Like that's what Toy-Con Garage sort of reminds me of, but it gives you the tools to really work hands-on and see your codes have some sort of an impact in the virtual world right away, which is really cool.
The only barrier to entry for schools is that you do need the Switch, right? So
That's the thing. But there are a lot of schools out there who aren't afraid to supply every student with an iPad.
or ask parents for money.
That's true. Yes, of course. So I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we saw this being picked up within schools in the next year or so. Especially the Toy-Con Garage aspect of it. At least I hope it does.
The leftover skeleton.
Oh man, you guys are doing both RC cars, huh?
I guess.
Okay, yeah, there are 2 RC cars in there, but yeah, feel free to go wild.
Only build one.
Yeah, because it is going to eat into your time.
I haven't gotten to that piece.
They're
yet,
2
but
minutes
sure.
in. There's 3 minutes left on the clock. So let's see, you guys. Is it gonna make? Are you gonna?
We
make
have
it?
like a burp,
No?
burp, burp, burp
Just
time ready.
Oh no, we don't. I wish we did.
Yeah,
there we
there you
go.
go. There it is.
Perfect. There's our chime.
Yeah.
Just feel lucky that I'm not asking you to decorate it and add pizzazz and glitter at the end of it.
So the two sets are slightly different, right? One actually has kind of colored print on it, and the
Right.
other one is like
Just the
completely
basic.
barren.
Yeah.
On purpose. So that
Okay.
is the one.
I appreciate
that,
you saying
we're
that
getting-
because that helps me separate them.
Yeah, that
Right.
So
Closer,
people
like-
will be able to customize those the one set much more than the other one.
Yeah.
I think that's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's a cost-cutting measure that
Okay.
they didn't print on one of the
So
sets. I think they
that should
deliberately
be-
did that.
And that is the only Toy-Con that does come
chassis.
with two.
It says the
Toy-Cons.
RC car is done.
Yeah.
Is it done?
Now, let's move on to the antenna. Okay.
Yeah.
the
Okay.
So
antenna
you guys
ready
got to
to
build
go?
the antenna. That's
Oh, it's
right.
almost-
Without the antenna, it will not work.
Oh, that's it. You're almost done. You just got to put it on the Switch. Slide the controllers off
Yeah.
of the
That's
Switch.
it. The antenna is done.
Yep.
Okay.
Slide it on there, and you should be
Attaching
good to
the joy.
go.
All right. So put it on. Or is it that goes on the screen?
Come on, a little more urgency.
Where's
This is
the-
the world.
Oh,
world
you mean the
record.
screen?
This is
Right.
not
The
gonna
screen
work.
I'm literally staring at.
So I have to pop the Joy-Cons off.
I mean, they've almost got it.
Them as motors.
If you guys can do it in the next 20 seconds,
It's not gonna happen.
Quickly. So do you see the
would
little
be
ears on the
you
RC
slide-
car?
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Yeah, and the Joy-Con go on the side of the little thing. Do you see it has the little slide-on thingies?
There you go.
Okay, these are on.
Very nice.
You got to put the right one on the right side so it can actually see.
I think. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
it correct here.
Oh, you did it. Come on. Is it done?
I think it counts as done.
It's the sort of. I don't know if that's quite right. It's like.
We'll,
It
fi-
feels loose, right?
we'll
Feels a
fix it
little
for
loose.
you.
Yeah, it's okay. You might need some minor adjustments, but I will take that. I will take
That's
that.
beautiful.
That's time at
So
1:15.
turn it on. Let's.
So 3 minutes and 45 seconds. I mean, that's got to be a world record, at least for today, right?
It's a world record for a device that has not been released.
Yes.
Yeah.
The unreleased
All
device.
right, folks
world record.
watching, time yourself next time when you get
gonna
to
be a lot
Labo
faster
Kit.
than us. And
Time
that-
yourself.
The sad thing is that was with 2 people. I'm sure we're gonna get decimated by like a single person.
Like one
I think you can
4-year-old.
build it in under a minute.
yeah.
If you don't,
I
if you just
generally,
build
it's so
one.
funny. I did not expect it to be touch controls. Like I'm
Yeah.
so used to the tactile, like using the Joy-Cons. It didn't even occur to me it would be a touch-based thing.
Yeah, I like how they made it fun too. Like you can pull on the instructions.
Yeah,
to
it's
fast
cool.
forward and stuff. Yeah.
It's not a janky system. I mean, everything is rendered in 3D.
Right.
And then you talked about there being 2 kits on this one. Some of the other sets have spare parts. So like the fishing rod, there's a little clicky mechanism inside when you turn the spool. And so they have a spare clicky mechanism in case it wears out. If you're going fishing crazy, you know, like the super user. Like
I mean,
you
that's
are.
such a Nintendo thing to do, right? Because you think about like on any system when it starts to wear down, like you're just probably out of luck. Like it's very hard to buy replacement parts.
Pear, could you do me a favor? Sam from IGN here, he's our managing editor. He would like to know, how does it taste? So, Pear, do you want to go ahead and give the cardboard a lick just to see if it's got any sort of child repellent on it, or does it taste like cardboard?
No flavor.
Normal?
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
I gave it the Jessica Tobot test and nothing happened.
Yes, it looks like it is safe. So, I mean, you definitely still don't want to eat cardboard. Look at it go.
I know, it's crazy.
Can you see the on the display? It can see, right?
It goes very
yeah,
fast.
there's like a. It's just not gonna pick up on the camera, I don't think. But there's this little.
So tap on that screen, and it'll switch to predator vision. So now you have
Whoa.
like what looks like heat vision. So do you see the
that's-
hand on it?
Yeah, there's his hand.
That is so weird.
Isn't that crazy? So what that's the whole secret behind Labo is the little reflective strips that are in the packaging. So it'll see those, like those reflective strips stand apart from everything.
Right.
That's how the piano works. That's how the robot kit works.
That's really cool.
So yeah. So who knew? You guys didn't attach those, right? Who knew they would use the IR sensor like for it to literally see, right?
And that's what I love. Like it feels like they thought this through even at like a product level from the beginning.
So there's modes that you can play with as well. They're like little challenges and things that they build into this one. But this one is definitely, wouldn't you say, this is the simplest and the jankiest of all of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, this one is very easy to put together, and don't be deceived by how easy this one is to put together, because the others get far more complicated. I mean, even when you just go to something like the fishing rod, it's got a lot more smaller parts and mechanisms. There's rubber bands involved, but the RC car, it's definitely the entry point into Labo, and it gives you a really good idea of how it works. And it's cool too, because like, yes, this is the stock RC Labo car, but you can add your own attachments to it. I mean, they've shown off in the Labo trailers like 2 RC cars battling it out. One of them with like beetle horns on there or something like that. The other one with like a construction scooper. So like you can make your own little attachments.
When this flap sticks up, that says it's not right.
We were on the clock.
That's why it's all bendy and weird. You guys didn't put the flap in.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I haven't heard a word anyone said for like the last 3 minutes. I've just been buzzing this thing around the table.
So the buzzing thing, I mean, obviously you can hear the Joy-Con rumble on this.
Yeah.
And it uses the 2 rumbles for directions. The piano uses the rumbling to make music.
It's so cool.
So the speed of the rumble determines the pitch, or, obviously music comes out of the speakers as well.
It really is fun watching it in person finally, having watched all the videos from those New York and San Francisco events. Like, man, I think this thing is so cool, and I really can't wait to see what they do with it.
Yes.
Stalking
It'll
pair.
be sentient and it'll kill us all.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I do have results for the poll, if you guys are wondering. So the variety kit got 49% of the vote, meaning 49% of our audience is interested in picking up the variety kit. And then I think second place went to the robot kit, and third place went to I'm Not Getting Labo. So it seems like there is quite a bit of interest in people wanting to get Labo, or at least see what it's all about.
Do you think the initial reaction where people said, like, nice job charging $70 for cardboard, do you think that has died down, or do you think there's just kind of like the people who feel that way have moved on?
I think the people who feel that way have probably moved on.
Yeah.
There seems to be like a lot of now hesitation to talk crap about Labo. Despite how the initial reaction was, a lot of people made jokes, but now that they're actually seeing the truth behind what it is and how it actually works, it seems to have died down. And I think people are starting to sort of respect the idea and Nintendo's approach as to how we can think differently about video games.
You have
these
to hate
days.
fun so
I
much
know, it
to
just
make fun
reminds
of
me of
something like
that
this.
meme, though, like, just like, shh, let people enjoy things.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, I don't know, like, especially, it's so funny watching this, like, juxtaposed with God of War, which is, like, the most violent, crazy thing this weekend, like, as opposed to just pure childlike wonder in something like this. Like, I don't know, watching, like, that IR camera picking up what's around it, I think is really, really cool. And I think, hopefully, when people see that in motion and see children playing with it, they can at least understand a little bit more of the base level of this. But for me, what's impressive about it is the potential, because I do think that down the road, they can leverage this tech into something really, really cool, and maybe start doing, maybe it is for older kids or even for adults after a certain point, and they can be much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
But even just this, even watching this crawl along the table, that's just so smart. It's so Nintendo.
Yeah.
So
it really
on the menu here, there's a series. There's sort of an order to the projects: RC car, fishing, aquarium, house, circuit. Is that sort of the order in which, like, the complexity?
I think
'cause
so.
Piano and
Piano is the most
and-
complex, yeah.
and then studio, which looks like it's the piano with the switch screen mounted on it is at the end. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one
right here, yeah.
that one is definitely the most complex one. I believe it does go in order, which makes a lot of sense, and it also tells you how long each one should take, right there in minutes, and they vary.
The
so.
fishing rod's really smart in that it's broken into components. They call them like baby bear, mama bear, papa bear, whatever, and like they're the parts of the fishing rod, and so they can be built separately, and then they all connect, and it becomes this telescoping rod.
Yeah.
So like I think the complete thing is pretty complex because it also has the ocean and like the string and everything. But I think they moved that one earlier just to give you kind of like move something that is more functional earlier because this is still very simple compared to the fishing rod.
Yeah.
The fishing rod has tension. Like when you're fishing, it's like it's
Got
line
the
tension.
fishing software, the fishing game, any fun?
it's very simple.
It's very simple. I had a good time while I was playing with it at the event. I haven't obviously had a chance to put it together and play with it here, but I do know that it's limited to only 10 fish that you can catch, 10 different variants.
Okay.
But you can also create your own custom fish.
But
So-
it has that appeal of like that tactile feedback, the way it feels like kind of WarioWare, Twisted, and some of those games.
Yeah.
So it has that factor. Whereas the motorbike, definitely the game is more involved. It has like 2 different modes, and you can play it a little bit more.
I'm excited. Like having watched footage of those games, it's so different getting the tactile feeling of playing with them. I'm so excited to see what the fishing rod feels like, and even winding it and hitting the piano keys and things like that. Just like getting that sort of sensation of like feeling something and hearing the noise it makes, or watching something happen. I think will be really fun and exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait.
Mr. Anonymous in the chat says, I thought Labo was going to be stupid, but this is awesome. And then Tina, our editorial games lead, says, how does it compare to the robots that can build IKEA furniture, though? That's what she wants to know. She just moved here to San Francisco, so she's been dealing with a lot of IKEA furniture building.
That's the next release of Labo. It's actually IKEA furniture that you put the switch into, and it shuffles the chair around your house.
Exactly.
That's why I really appreciate the 3D instructions and that you can rotate the stuff, because anybody who's built an IKEA closet knows that sometimes you just want to know where the hell you are and what the backside looks like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to just delve even deeper into Labo, check out more of the toy cons, and really get my hands on the robot kit. Like, that is the big curiosity for me, is like, how long is that really going to take to put together? How stable is it? Like, after I'm, wailing my arms around and feet around and stuff like that, and how much content is within each game? Like, those are my big questions that I still need to figure out.
So safe to say your review will hit IGN maybe early next week.
Yeah, early next week. Don't want to put any promises out there right now, but keep an eye out for it, because it's going to be very big, and it's going to be different than anything we've ever done before. So look forward to that. But we could talk about Labo, I think, this entire episode. Unfortunately, we can't, because there's still a lot to talk about. One of the main reasons I asked Andrew to come on the show is to shed some more light on Pokemon Go. I heard
God.
you're a
Don't
fan.
enable him.
I can't believe I finally get to talk about it. Yeah.
And that's all the time we have.
So obviously Pokemon Go took the world by storm when it initially released. I mean, it was the biggest game in the world, and it had my mom playing, my dad playing, and that's like unheard of. They don't play video games. So it's died down a little bit, the excitement. I know that there are still a lot of people who do play Pokemon Go. And I'm wondering, by the way, who in the chat is playing Pokemon Go? Like, who's an avid Pokemon Go player? Let's get a poll created for that as well, if we can. But
I feel like even when we have to always caveat that when we say it's dropped off, it still makes like $500 million a year.
It does.
Just from microtransactions.
It makes $1 million a day still. That is insane.
all right, well, tell us, what's your take on the current state of the game, Andrew?
I think so. Yeah, it is not what it was, right? And I don't think it ever can be. But it is still really active, and they finally. It's funny because now it does feel more like a game. I think when it came out, it felt like we were all just beta testers a little bit. I do think that almost 2 years in, they just added quests, which are essentially like a story mode, and that's how you get Mew. This is actually my footage of catching Mew that you're seeing on screen.
Aww.
And it really
brag.
it changes the way you play. It's really cool having like certain tasks. So there are main quests, which are how you get Mew, and then there are these side quests, basically called field research, that just give you little arbitrary things to go do. One of them I got this week was just spin 3 Pokestops you've never spun before, which is a really simple thing. It had a simple reward, but that meant I had to leave my neighborhood. It meant I had to go explore, which is sort of the point of the game.
So what would a player who lives in a rural area like do with something like that? Would they have trouble getting past that quest?
I think they would, but I do think that this is meant for rural players a little bit because you can trash any quest you get. If it's something you can't complete, you can grab another one that's maybe simpler, like catch 10 Pokemon or whatever it is.
Nice.
And for every 7 days that you do that, you get a research breakthrough, which means a legendary Pokemon. Cool. And so basically this means rural players can finally get legendaries, which previously you needed a raid of 20 people, which doesn't really happen outside of the city.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So what do you think? Like, I know I said earlier, and everyone knows, Pokemon Go was such a massive game at launch. What do you think it would take to to bring back some of that audience, or like, is it even possible for it to get as big as it was when it initially launched? Could it get back to that size?
I don't think it can ever get that big.
Will anything?
Yeah, exactly.
It was
like
humongous.
I think maybe when their Harry Potter game comes out, it'll be a blip, but it can never be as big as it was. I think for Pokemon specifically, the one thing they could do in the original trailer for this game before it was even out, they showed PvP and they showed trading. Those are still not in the game.
Yeah.
I think trading will be big for current players, but it's not going to bring anyone back.
Yeah.
But I think PvP could. I think PvP and putting it in the competitive circuit and putting it at Pokemon World Championships is probably the biggest hope it has of like getting a lot of attention again.
I know how it can get as big
How?
as it was. And I'm actually being serious. Like when in 5 years, when we get to the point where our phones can actually project like holographic AR kind of things, and they make the actual AR version of this, where it's like Pikachu, you got to go catch him in the real world.
Yeah.
That I could totally see a Pokemon Go 2 or 3, whatever it is.
Ryan,
Projector feature.
Have you seen like HoloLens, like Microsoft's
Yes.
sort of example, or
Yes.
the examples of Pokemon Go running in AR through something like HoloLens? Like that would be incredible. Obviously, we're a little ways away from something like that actually hitting the market, but that would be incredible.
Yeah, and that feels like the next logical step, right? Because right now you see a Pokemon in the wild, you click on it, and then you can begin an AR thing. But when you're walking around the world, they aren't just there, you know? And I feel like HoloLens actually probably is the closest thing I've ever done to like, you really do have that incredible feeling of like something that's stationary and exists in the world around you. And that would be so cool to see with Pokemon, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of this Pokemon Go talk kind of has me wondering, what do you think Pokemon Switch could take away from Pokemon Go, if anything? Do you think there are any sort of similarities or any sort of, mechanics that Pokemon Go brought into the Pokemon gaming universe that we could bring over to Pokemon Switch that could maybe benefit from that?
I think that feeling of the community that this game has fostered, that idea of it, that online component, if they were to make it not necessarily even MMO, but just being able to play with people, because Pokemon, as much as I love it and as much as meeting people and battling in real life has always been like an important part of that game for me, the actual game experience itself has always been a solitary thing, you know? And I do think that like if they did almost like that shared world or persistent idea that you're seeing more and more in games, like that would be pretty radical for that franchise, I think. And I do think it would allow you to kind of experience that world in a very different way.
Yeah. Well, the Switch doesn't have GPS or forward-facing camera or anything like that. So, like Pokemon Go definitely is going to remain this kind of mobile-only experience, right? We're not going to see that move across.
Yeah. Although you had one good idea we were just talking about this earlier, about a really cool mechanic from the game that I think could work.
Yeah. So before the show started recording, I was talking with Andrew a little bit about some possible ideas that, the Pokemon Switch could learn from Pokemon Go. And I thought it might be interesting. I really like how Pokemon Go lets you catch Pokemon with the touchscreen. You're spinning the ball and then you flick it up to throw it, and hopefully you do catch the Pokemon. What if Pokemon Switch adopted that same mechanic where you're fighting a Pokemon, you choose to try and catch it, and then you see the Pokeball pop up, and then you can slide to throw it, and you don't have to do it that way. But if you do it that way, maybe you're incentivized with additional candies or whatever rewards you might get, an item drop. And that's if you're playing in handheld mode. But if you're playing in TV mode, you could use it could be the same concept, but with motion controls with Joy-Cons. So like instead of using your finger on the touchscreen, you're like sort of winding your Joy-Cons around and then literally throwing it like it's a Pokeball. I think that would be a fun, the Joy. Well, you're not throwing the Joy-Con.
Yeah, just throw it across the
obviously
room.
break your TV.
Or if you're me, the Pro Controller, because I love that controller, and I was doing all the twirls in Odyssey with it.
Getting the last few in Odyssey made me feel insane. Like, because I played the whole game in handheld mode, but I would be like rotating the entire thing.
As long as they don't do dousing with the IR sensor where you're walking around your house going like, where are you, Pikachu? I'm good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's great. Let's see. The results are in for the Pokemon Go poll, and Andres just told me 83% of our audience is not playing Pokemon Go currently. That's 83%. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, right? I think the Pokemon main series fans that got into that game early on have basically abandoned it. Like, I think it's much more into that like mobile crowd and the people who play it as more of like an exercise app, or who have a bunch of real world friends who play it, and kids and things like that.
Yeah.
And me.
when I do see if I'm like riding BART, the subway or whatever, there's like a look and I can tell when someone's playing the game, like if they're doing this or it's like, oh, you're playing Pokemon Go.
Especially for raids now, it's really funny too, because you have to like meet at a Starbucks and like everyone's just tapping their phone.
Yeah.
You get their name and number for Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. The very, very last thing I'll say about it is just Pokemon Go Community Day is this thing they started doing, which is it's a 3-hour event once a month. But they add a new Pokemon that's shiny, and it makes something rare just spawn everywhere. And at least in San Francisco, it has been unbelievable. Like, it does feel like launch week. It's like literally thousands of people are out playing. And it's only a 3-hour event, so it dies down pretty quick and goes back to normal. But like, I feel like that must be fueling like 80% of the money Niantic is making from this right now, because
Probably, yeah.
it is crazy how many people come out during that.
Yeah, definitely. And every single time there's a significant update, I've noticed a lot of people pick it back up, if not just for a couple weeks to check out the update. I remember when they did release the Quest system, I actually went to Arizona to visit my family, and I went for a walk around like our community lake over there, and everybody who was on that walk was playing Pokemon Go. It didn't matter how old they were, if they were, men or women, they were just playing Pokemon Go. Like, so like that game is contagious. There's obviously a bug there. And I hope that they do implement like a battle system. That would be really great. Trades, just to keep that game going. It's fun.
The next big feature is Pokemon Lure, where it's an in-app dating service for Pokemon Go.
Who knows? Could happen.
You could meet the one of your dreams through Pokemon Go. It could happen.
Could be.
It's a Pokemon dating game. Yeah, it could work. All right, so moving forward from there, like I said earlier, Dark Souls is again in the news. And if you haven't heard already, I'm here to remind you that Dark Souls Remastered has been delayed for Switch. It's still coming out on, I believe it's May 24th or 25th?
25th, I think.
25th, that's right, on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. But the Switch version has officially been pushed back to summer 2018, and this was announced through Bandai Namco's official Twitter account. I'm sorry, it was the Dark Souls official Twitter account. They said, due to the nature of causality, we must announce that the Nintendo Switch version of Dark Souls Remastered will be pushed back to summer of 2018, and with it, the release of the Solaire of Astora amiibo. So yeah, obviously,
the causality made it happen.
Yeah, I do like. I obviously
Thank you,
do
Neil
this.
deGrasse Tyson, for that delay announcement.
It's so weird, right? Like we have done this a very long time. We see these delay announcements all the time. This is one of the weirdest I can ever remember.
For Japanese.
Yeah.
It's so vague and odd, and I love that they include the amiibo as part of it in in the press release on every different Twitter account. They always make sure to mention it's the amiibo too, which I
Stop
find
asking
really funny.
us about it.
See, that's all I care
too.
about. I'm
mean,
so sad now.
maybe there's just something on Switch specifically, because we played this at PAX like 2 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
it seemed fine. It seemed completely fine. I didn't notice any major frame rate hiccups or anything. Like it totally felt like Dark Souls in the Go. I do wonder if maybe late game there was something that they had to address, and maybe it caused them to kick it down the road a few weeks. But like this game obviously was going into cert. It's still coming out in other platforms.
I'll give a possible devil's advocate argument. They may, the summer is always pretty barren on all platforms. Maybe they decided, hey, the Switch crowd is very different from the PS4, Xbox One crowd. Let's get our publicity beat out of the PS4 and Xbox One releases, and then let's just double dip and get another wave of publicity and just maybe they're sitting on it on purpose till later in the summer. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it's possible. I think it would be weird to not put a date on it. I also think it's weird what it did to Switch's May, because it made May not barren. I mean, there's still stuff coming. There's still Donkey Kong and Hyrule Warriors.
You love that game so much, don't you?
I love Hyrule Warriors. But no, it's like, it just felt like that was the marquee title for May, and Nintendo's had such a good cadence. And maybe you're right? Maybe Nintendo put pressure on Bandai Namco to let Donkey Kong shine a little bit and let Hyrule shine a little bit. But it gets them so much more competitive the further they go towards fall, that I just wonder if this comes out in July, how it'll do.
I don't know. I think it's pretty clear what caused this delay. It's causality.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Fair point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I think it's especially weird because they initially announced Dark Souls Remastered during Nintendo's January Direct. So it's like the game was showing off as like a Nintendo platform or as like a Nintendo game, but then it's just the Switch version gets the delay, which sucks. But obviously, like, I'd rather have a delayed game that comes out, looking great instead of like something that's coming out on the 25th and it's full of bugs and, frame stutters. So
yeah, and given that it's a re-release of an existing game, it's not like the people who own both platforms, like or PS4 and an Xbox and a Switch, are sitting there saying, I can't wait. Like, I think, the extra 2 months are not going to be too bad. Hopefully it doesn't slip farther into fall.
Yeah, that's what I worry about. I worry if there is something wrong, because I do think that's a plausible theory, but if it is that there's something wrong, it would be a shame if it slipped any further in summer.
Yeah.
And summer for our Australian viewers is, of course, the opposite. Winter. Sorry.
Well, in some more exciting news, actually, much more exciting than a delay, Nintendo is back in the news with some potential new hardware rumors, or at least that's what we heard from Nintendo executive Takahashi at the BAFTA Awards earlier this week. So Nintendo took home 3 different awards from the BAFTA Awards, which is great. And I forgot what publication it was that stopped Takahashi to ask him a question. I think it might have been Forbes, but they stopped him and they asked him, like, oh, how does it feel to win, like, 3 awards for, having such amazing games come out? And he just alluded to, oh, yeah, well, we're actually working on new hardware, and it's really exciting, and we hope that you guys get to play it soon. So it just randomly, like, fell out of his mouth. And he also, like, hinted at potentially working on a new Wave Race game and just a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Which
I'm
maybe
excited
he
about
didn't
that.
think maybe a few drinks going on before this.
It sounds like it, yeah.
It's tough sometimes with these developer interviews to discern hey, it's actually a thing from, oh yeah, we'd love to do that.
Right.
Kind of like the not wanting to let a fan down either. Like,
Yeah.
I love the Wave Race series. 64, one of my favorite games of all time. And I love Blue Storm as well on the GameCube, and I want to see it return. And so if I looked at him with puppy dog eyes, I'm sure you'd say, "Don't worry." And 50 years later, I'll get Wave Race 4, because remember there was the one with the boats.
Well, the ironic thing, and the reason I bring this to your attention, is because in this very same week, Nintendo filed a brand new patent that looks rather interesting. Now, I'm not saying that these are definitely related, but they could be, and I think it's definitely worth looking at right now. So these are actual images from the patent, and the way it works is it's essentially wireless screens that seem like they're smaller than a Switch screen itself, and they can communicate within each other wirelessly. So you can see there's some different examples right here. They're showing off how you can essentially play a bowling game off of 2 of these screens that are not connected. It's not like a DS where it's a clamshell thing. They separately move within each other, and you can use up to, I think there's an image with like 6 or 7 of them connected doing different stuff. So like, this is obviously something very strange. To me, this looks like a completely new device, something that we haven't seen before. But at the same time, I do want to, I am aware that a lot of patents are filed that we never see the light of day of these things.
This is if you're watching this is my favorite. So it shows 4 screens connected with lots of little ugly fingers swiping across them. So it's like some weird toy concept where you link things together, like remember the Cube toy that you can link up as well. I mean, it doesn't look like a successor to the 3DS when you see it like this. This looks like a toy exploration, or one that is more focused on the technology, may never actually become a standalone device.
And that's, I mean, my thing with this entire quote and story is like I think Nintendo is just obsessed with R&D. I think they're always doing something, and they're especially a company in recent years really that loves to iterate, right?
Yeah.
It's like, obviously you saw the DS and the DS Lite and the DSi and the DSi XL, and more and more and more, they take an idea and they kind of perfect it over the course of a generation.
Yeah.
And I think Switch, I love my Switch so much, but I would be stunned if there isn't someone at Nintendo trying to think of a way of how to improve it or how to make it more efficient or how to make new attachments for it. So like, I think the idea of them working on new hardware is exciting but not surprising. But the idea of people jumping to the conclusion that Switch is going to get replaced, come on.
There will be an iteration. I mean, Xbox One X just came out.
Yeah.
Obviously, PS4 Pro moved on to the PS. Was the latest iteration there? Like, there will be a new iteration of the Switch, but I don't think it's this.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, that patent, like, that could be a concept for almost like a street pass where you get together with friends and you put your Switches next to each other too to do some collaborative stuff.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, look at this thing, right? And look at that square.
I know Nintendo famously marches to the beat of their own drum, but with the absolute meteoric success of the Switch, I would be shocked if whatever the next hardware isn't called the Super Switch. Yeah. Like, I've got to figure they're not gonna walk. I mean, they
Super
they
Nintendo
doubled
Switch?
down on Wii with Wii U. I would be shocked if they walked away from the Switch branding whenever that time comes for the next hardware.
Yeah, no, I think that they're going to ride this Switch wave for a little while. I think it's very likely that we'll see a Switch Pro, and I've commented before of what I'd like to see out of it. Just nothing major, just maybe a little bit more powerful, definitely a higher resolution screen, and I want to see smaller bezels show up on the console. Like that's a major thing for me too.
That's what keeps you up at night.
That's what keeps me
Smaller
up.
bezels.
Literally the only thing I care about.
I think
Battery.
Bezels are too big.
I want the exact Switch I have right now with better battery.
I don't think Nintendo cares enough about 4K for that to be a thing
yeah.
yet, but that's obviously a possible step up as well, that it can at least do 4K display on the TV.
That would be cool.
No, for sure.
Sunny Vagan in the chat says the new hardware is called the Nintendo Switcheroo. That's a good name. I like that. We'll make sure to let Nintendo know about that. Okay, so Nowhere Star 14 has a good question. He says, okay, question for the IGN panel. Why does Nintendo love using extra screens in things? I mean, I think he's alluding to, like, even as far as back as the Game & Watch, for instance. Like, that had 2 screens in it.
2DS, yeah.
Yeah, 2DS.
And then, the 2 screens of the DS and then the double setup.
Virtual Boy, 1 screen for each eye.
That's, nice one. Or 2 people can play at the same time with 1 eye. It's a differentiating factor. Like, you look at a DS, a 3DS, and it's the only device that looks like that. And with the Game & Watch, it was that kind of clamshell idea of, like, you have the screen that's protected, and then when you fold it open, you have a bigger play area. I think that was pretty eye-catching when you saw it in a store.
Yeah.
But with the DS, it's definitely looks different from what everybody else has done. And then this concept that I remember, I think it was in an interview that we did at one point, where when Nintendo was playing with touchscreens, they said, well, you can't see the game when you've got your finger on it. And so then they had the concept of making the bottom screen touchscreen so you can see the game fully at the top. So,
Yeah.
some cool ideas there, I think.
No,
Yeah, I think they love, I mean, marching to the beat of their own drum is a good way to put it, but I think they love just rethinking, like, they don't take status quo and just stick with it, right? Like, they think about what are the drawbacks of current gaming and what is the experience of a controller not give you, and I think they kind of push those limits and think a little outside the box, and sometimes it doesn't work, and when it works incredibly well.
Totally.
And so I think that something like 2 screens is just sort of a differentiating factor, but also just like naturally the way people play games. I think stuff like their hands blocking it is a perfect example of they are thinking about the end user a little bit more than I think some of the other
I
companies.
think maybe a good way of putting it is like Elon Musk is big on first principles design. I think in the console space, in the gaming space, Nintendo's probably adheres to that the closest.
Can you explain what that means?
So just not thinking about things based on the way they've been and like, okay, well, this is how it's been, so we just have to figure out a better way to do this. But think like a clean sheet design. Like if you were starting a console over, like just forgetting any preconceived notion, what should a video game piece of hardware be? What should a video game experience be?
Yeah. In a car, it's like a car has a handbrake was kind of like what everybody followed, right? And then somebody said, no, you don't need a handbrake. When you press the pedal, then it's braked. Right?
Yeah,
And voicemail, remember voicemail? It told you there was a voicemail and then you had to listen to it. Like
Yeah.
the notification, like you didn't know who called you.
Right.
It was possible to ID callers before. Why didn't that happen?
It's really funny because video games are obviously, and I've talked about this in podcasts a billion times, but it's so obviously the input and feedback loop, right? And I think Nintendo, more than any company, has probably had the most impact on that input, right? On that idea of like how we control things.
Right.
But I really like them kind of experiment with the other side more and more of what we see and what we do. And I think the other companies are so obsessed with the fidelity of that image, but it's still essentially the same thing it always has been. I think maybe with the exception of VR developers, Nintendo are the only ones really pushing that idea of like, what else are we going to experience and how do we make it more immersive in different ways other than just being photoreal?
Yeah.
And I think that's really special and you get stuff like this as a result.
I really appreciated the drive to do something different with the Wii U, but that was an example where first principle didn't work, and where it's like the gain of what the machine could do was so limited. You literally couldn't walk away out of the room, right? Where that design principle failed them. But yeah, I dig that they always try to do something where when you look at it, it looks different from everything else on the market. And as long as they're doing it, they'll have a place in the market, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right, so we're quickly running out of time here, but we have one more topic to talk about before we start talking about some games. And I want to make sure we do talk about this because I think it's very important. It is exciting that Sega Aegis is coming to Nintendo Switch, which was announced earlier this week during Sega's press conference in Tokyo. They announced that 15 of their classic titles under the name of Sega Aegis will be making their way over to Switch this summer digitally, exclusively on the eShop. And we know of 3 of those titles so far. It's Sonic the Hedgehog, which of course you can't be Sega and not come out with a Sonic game. Thunder Force 4, and then the original Phantasy Star, which is like the 2D old school retro one. So it's not
like Sega Master System.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to hopefully the potential of Dreamcast games maybe making their way down to Switch, but at the same time, it has me a little worried about the future of Virtual Console.
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean for Virtual Console? Because we have the ACA games coming, from Neo Geo. Like, we have a ton of classic games. We even have
the Nintendo arcade classics, which have been selling like every week. They're in the top 5.
Yep. And then the Mega Man collection and so many other things are coming. I mean, my answer to that question is it makes me think Virtual Console is not happening, at least not anytime soon.
Not in the same setup where you get like content released every week and you download these classics in their special section, right?
Yeah.
I don't think, I want to make sure they will absolutely make classics available on the Switch. Like, there is going to be a way to play Super Mario World in the future.
And they've announced already that their online service, you'll get that selection every month and everything.
But that same setup is not likely to exist.
Yeah, I'm not sure if like our vision or what we wanted for Virtual Console on Switch to be, I'm not sure if that's even possible anymore, because of the way that other third-party publishers have started to release their titles on Switch. But before we get deeper into this conversation, I do want to ask the chat, which retro classics do you guys want to see come to Switch now that we know that Sega is obviously going full force? What Dreamcast games do you want to see? What classic Sega Genesis, Sega Master System games would you want to see? Or even just classic games in general? Doesn't have to be from Sega.
Shout one out. By the way, you know why Sega Aegis is called Sega Aegis?
Why?
Aegis is backwards Sega.
Whoa. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Actually, legitimately.
Once you know it, you can't unsee
That's why you get the big bucks.
But I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's possible that we still get a Netflix-style Virtual Console? Like, is that even something that Nintendo could bring into the pipeline at some point? Wouldn't it compete against, all these other classic titles that they've been releasing?
I mean, in my opinion, they need something a little bit like what Xbox has done with Game Pass, or even what Sony did with PlayStation Now. Like having even a renting style, because if you look at what you get with PlayStation Plus, you don't keep those games necessarily. Like if your subscription lapses, you don't have that game anymore.
Right.
Or for the on-demand thing like PlayStation Now, you were literally subscribing to be able to access that library every month. I think that's sort of the modern solution other companies have done that maybe Nintendo does, and maybe it is that Netflix style. Even in the days of Wii U and Wii and when Virtual Console was big, there were always games I wanted that weren't on there yet, you know, and they did this like drip feed. I think if they're going to finally do it, I would love for them to do all at once, but there's clearly a reason they haven't done that because they haven't done it in 10 years. So I don't necessarily have a lot of faith they're suddenly going to start now. I think stuff like the NES Classic and the SNES Classic seems to be the way they would prefer to get those games out.
Yeah.
You could do a virtual version of both of those machines, right, for the Switch.
Oh, easily.
As a software package release. So
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the answers coming into the chat as to what classic titles they want to see come to Switch. I'm getting some good ones here. Sonic Adventure is a must. I love Sonic Adventure.
Strong call.
Yes.
Thanks, Jackal.
Nowhere Star 14 says Sonic Spinball. Do you guys remember Sonic Spinball? Was that like the Sonic pinball game?
Vaguely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was good. That was a good game.
I don't think I do remember Sonic Spinball.
Was that on Sega or was
I'm trying
that
to
on?
remember.
I feel like that might
I
have
don't know
been.
if that was Genesis or Sega CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, good call on Sonic Spinball. Golden Axe Collection. Thank you, Sandman420, for saying it.
Greg.
Jet Set Radio. Oh, I'm a huge Jet Set Radio fan. I would love to see that.
I'm not a
franchise
Golden
come to
Axe
Switch.
guy. I never understood the appeal
No?
of that game. No, it just felt so loose and weird. But
the one-
Jet Grind, I loved.
Yeah.
The one I would love to see that won't for purely logistical reasons would be Phantasy Star Online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never happened. Yeah. From the booth.
Well, it's in Japan. You can play it.
Well, you can
on
play
the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get it there.
As Link,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
you go. You can
I-
play as Link.
Game was so good.
We didn't get that in the West. Ooh, Sandman is saying Power Stone.
Power Stone would be great.
Power
yeah.
Stone would be great, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great original fighting game concept that really hasn't been replicated that same way since,
Yeah.
right? That kind of setup.
It's so frantic. Man, I really
It's
miss
like
that.
prototype Smash Brothers in a way.
Yeah.
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 It reminded me a lot of that. Crazy Taxi would also be a very good choice.
Yeah.
Still with only those two songs. Yeah.
We were actually playing Crazy Taxi on a Dreamcast like a month ago in the office. So yeah, I mean, we would love to see that on Switch too. So yeah, there's a ton of titles that I think could make great or would be great on Switch, especially from Sega in general. So hopefully we do get to see that. Like I said, I'm still holding out for Virtual Console. I would love to see a Netflix style Virtual Console come to Switch, but I don't know. The future looks a little dark as far as classic titles and having to buy them individually go. But with that said, we do have to go and move over to our leading games. We only have 5 minutes left to talk about them. So I'm going to just tell you guys real quick, our pick of the week this week is undoubtedly Nintendo Labo right here. Even though I haven't gotten a chance to go all out and crazy with every detail of it, I can tell you right here that if you are at all interested in Nintendo Labo, it is definitely worth looking into. It's probably the most exciting thing to come out this week for Nintendo, if not for the entire month or the next 2 months. So definitely check it out. It looks very, very fun. But since we already talked about that for like 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes of the show, let's move over to our skip of the week, which we love doing that every week. I know I've seen some comments come out in the chat, like on YouTube in particular, where people are like, "Oh, you guys are being a little harsh. You know, like maybe you should think of a different name, skip of the week." And I felt that way originally. But
Now you're
honestly,
mean.
some of these titles I think just straight up deserve to be skipped. So our skip of this week is Brakes Are for Losers, which actually comes out today. So Brakes Are for Losers is $4.99 on the Nintendo eShop, and I definitely think you guys need to save your $5 on this one.
It's actually brakes like car brakes, right? I think we mistyped it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
We should have some B-roll for it popping up in
Brakes spelled
It's
this
a
way. is
top
what you
time
said, Al.
racer, so I haven't played it yet. Like I watched the footage and I dug what I saw. Like
Right.
it looked cool, like 8-player versus.
Well, that's the thing is the concept of it is actually really cool. It seems like it would work well as a game, but there's so many small issues that I have with this game that it's just created. It just makes it unplayable almost. For
Well, this
me.
is like that ubiquitous coin-op arcade game from back in the day, the Tony Stewart's off-road racing.
Yeah.
Whereas this top-down with like crazy physics.
Yeah.
Right. It's
There are a couple games like this on mobile and on the Switch as well. So, but you just feel like control-wise it's not there or what?
well, no. There's a couple different issues here. So control-wise, it's okay control-wise. Obviously the game is called Brakes Are for Losers, so there's no brakes, there's no way to stop, which is is fine. That's a game mechanic. Turning feels a little weird. I feel like it's obviously it's hard to be precise when you're playing this game, especially as the tracks get harder and harder. This is the very first track of the game, so it's almost like a tutorial. But one of the biggest issues I have is it's so hard to tell who you actually are.
Yeah.
Like if you guys are watching the B-roll right now, there's no names being displayed. And halfway through this race, I just totally lost my car. I didn't know who I was. Like all you can see is the positioning of each racer.
The color, yeah.
And spoilers, I got last place. 8. Yeah, so I mean, the only real indication of who you're playing as is you have to remember what car you picked, which, is fine, but you lose them real quick, and there's so many cars on the screen. Yeah.
It is on the small screen. It's obviously a real issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hear you. I still think I'm gonna check it out just because I love those top-down racers.
Yeah.
But like eight players is like a cool kind of show-off stat. But like seeing this going on, you're like, especially with like did you see the wrench pickup like boost like big,
Right,
and you can't see the cars behind it?
Yeah.
I can see how that would be a huge issue.
So, Philip, brakes are for losers, according to you. Is in fact for losers.
Is in fact for losers. Unfortunately, I mean, like, maybe they can update the game and fix some of those problems, but until they do, I almost feel like this game is unplayable. Just because it's so confusing, it's so hectic, it's really hard to keep straight in your races. And I really tried. I mean, I didn't just play this for like 15 minutes and put it down. I put like an hour into this game before I was like, all right, well, I give up. I can't do it anymore.
All right, no breaks for you.
Yeah, no breaks. No breaks for you guys either. I hope you don't pick it up because there are a lot of other games that came out this week that you should, especially Labo. But unfortunately, we are all out of time this week. So thank you very much for tuning in to our show. We are live every week on IGN.com every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you join the live show if you want to catch the episode a whole day early and hang out with us in the chat, just like Sandman420 and Necromancer Doctor and Hoot. And yes,
Sony Vaughn, Greg Atlas.
Exactly. So thank you guys very much for joining us for that. But if you do want to stick to the regular upload time on Fridays, if you've been watching us on YouTube, we are on YouTube as well every Friday. I believe at 2:30 p.m. is when we upload there as well. So thank you guys very much for watching this week, and we will see you next week.
Get the thing.